Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet Bava Batra, pages 117 through 123. Kuf Yud Zayin, 117. Meraglim Yoshua v'Kalev Natlu Chelkam. The spies, the evil spies, the 10 of them who gave a bad report about Eretz Yisrael, their portions in the land of Israel were inherited by their good counterparts, Yoshua and Kalev, who issued a favorable report about Eretz Yisrael. Mitlonanim, the complainers, Vadat Korach, and the rabble of Korach. Lohaya lehem chelek ba'aretz. They did not have a portion in the land of Israel. Their sins caused them to lose out completely. Habanim, however, their descendants who survived, were not left with nothing. They were still able to have real estate in Eretz Yisrael. Natu b'zechut avi avihem. They were able to get a portion courtesy of their paternal grandfather, if that person had been a member of the Exodus from Egypt, and even from their maternal grandfather, if their mothers had no brothers, and the mothers would have inherited the grandfather, and they inherit the mother. Kuf Yud Chet. V'yidgul arov b'kerev haaretz. So the last phrase from the blessing of Hamalach HaGoel. Just as the fish of the sea, mayim mechasim alehem, the water covers them, and the eye is unable to see the fish. Meaning, you look at the water, maybe you see a little fish, maybe you don't, but there are thousands of fish you don't see. They're below the surface of the water. So too, the progeny of Joseph, the eye, specifically the evil eye, is not able to have any power over them. And so there were those of the descendants of Joseph who had the slogan, Ana mizarad Yosef. I am from the descendants of Joseph. Lo shalta be'ein abisha. That the evil eye has no power over me. So this was a way of flouting the norm of worrying about the evil eye and saying, I don't have to worry about that sort of thing. It doesn't have any power over me. Kuf Yutet, 119. Mar savar cholkim kavah l'tam b'makom harav. Mar savarin cholkim. There's a dispute among the Amoraim whether or not we accord some measure of respect or honor to a disciple in the presence of that disciple's teacher. So, hilchata cholkim. The law is we afford some measure of respect to this disciple, even in the presence of his teacher. Hilchata ein cholkim, and the law is we don't. Now, how could that be? Kasha hilchata hilchata. There's a direct contradiction between two halachic statements that are made in the Talmud. So lo kasha, the Gemara concludes it's not a problem. We can reconcile these difficulties. Hadal palig Rabbi Yakara, Hadal palig Rabbi Yakara, that where the law is you do accord some measure of kavod, of honor to the disciple, it's where the teacher himself had done so in the student's presence. But where we don't do this is where the teacher had never showed any measure of deference or respect to his disciple in his own presence. So we follow the lead of the Rabbi, and based upon what the Rabbi has done, that's what we do when the Rabbi and Talmud are together. Kuf Chaf, 120. Benot Slavchad, who truly shvatim. The daughters of Slavchad were allowed to marry men of any tribe. It says in the Torah they can marry whoever is good in their eyes, which would imply no tribal limitation on the choice of husband. So then what do I do with the verse that says they shall be wives to men of their own tribal affiliation? Eitza Tova Hisiana Katuv. That was not as a direct command, an absolute rule governing their behavior, but rather was simply good advice. That they ought to marry men who are appropriate and suitable for them, and that men of their tribe would, for a variety of reasons, be more suitable for them. And they followed these instructions, but they could have, if they had wanted to, married from any other tribe. Kuf Chaf 121. Moadei Hashem tzrichim kiddush beit din. Shabbat Breshit tzricha kiddush beit din. So the holidays of God, meaning Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, all the Yamim Tovim, when malacha is forbidden, when work is forbidden, all these holidays require, in order for us to observe them, that the calendar be regularized and be fixed by the governing authorities of Judaism. And it requires Kiddush Beit Din, that the court shall sanctify the month in which this holiday falls out, and then we can observe the holiday. By contrast, Shabbat, the weekly Sabbath, Saturday, requires no such Kiddush Beit Din. It happens automatically. That since the earliest times of man, since creation, every seventh day is Shabbos. And we, the people of Israel, and our court and rabbinic authorities, play no role whatsoever in making that happen. That's only the case when it comes to the Yamim Tovim, which rely upon our calendar. 122. Kuf Haben notel pishnayim av, notel pishnayim. The son, who is the firstborn son, gets a double portion. However, this is only true with regard to the assets that he inherits from his father. Let's say he's inheriting something from his mother, and there are other sons who are also inheriting, then his status as a Bechor is insignificant, and he does not get a double portion in that stuff, because he's only a Bechor vis-a-vis descent from his father, not vis-a-vis descent from his mother. Kuf Chaf Gimel, 123. Ein Leah Rakot. The eyes of Leah were weak. So, my Rakot, what do you mean Rakot, weak? Rakot mamash. How could it be that we take a physical description of Leah, which is a negative one, to be literal? That would be inconsistent with the methods of the Torah, because after all, when it comes to the impure species, the non-kosher species of animal, it says that they are einena tehora, not pure. It doesn't say temeya, impure, because the Torah tries to avoid negative descriptions. It wants to use clean language. So if regarding an animal, the Torah spoke in more favorable terms than was actually the case. Begnut Sadikim Diber Katuv, is the Torah going to disparage a righteous person like Leah? Doesn't seem to make any sense. So La'olam Rakot Mamash. Really, I'll tell you, it means literally so, and it was not intended as a disparagement of Leah, that she's somehow less attractive or physically flawed, but rather it was said as a matter of praise of her behavior. Because she heard people, the scuttlebutt on the street was that there are two daughters of Yaakov, that there are two daughters of Lavan, and there are two sons of Yitzchak, and the older will marry the older, and the younger will marry the younger, which would mean that Rachel would marry Yaakov, but Leah would marry Esav, and she was so depressed by that she cried her eyes out, and it affected her appearance. So it was l'shevach. It was for a way of praising her to say Nela Rakot because she didn't want to marry a Russia. Everyone have a great week.